Casa. Afternoon is what? Kiyuta Kaboch?
Yeah, Kiyuta Kaboch.
Kiyuta Kaboch. So I'm speaking my Krasa language. Now before I do anything, it's part of our tradition that you have to get permission to speak from the elders.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before I do anything, I'd like to ask Janice to give me permission to speak because one, right, we want to honor her as an elder, and two, we're also here to pay tribute to her son, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Janice, do I have permission to continue? Thank you. Amen. Okay. I'm glad you all could be here. Today is a very, very important, symbolic, special, and spiritual day that the vast majority of people in the city of Chicago are not aware of. Okay? Everyone that's in this room is going to understand why as a result of this presentation. It has two parts because we have a lot to present. So we're going to do part one, then we're going to break, we're going to eat. There's some food that's going to be brought here, we can eat, and then we'll do the second part. But in order for me to begin, it's appropriate that I start with the fact that today is the 100-year anniversary of something that was massively important to black people all over the country and all over the world. Raise your hand if you know what event took place exactly 100 years ago today. Raise your hand if you know. Okay? I think I got one in the back. Okay. That's why we're doing this program. Okay? 100 years ago today, on August 1st, 1920, Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association held its first grand convention in Madison Square Garden in New York. 20,000 people showed up for this convention. They had a massive parade. They had the red, black, and green flag. You had the Black Legion, which was the military unit. Soldiers marched in formation. You had Black Cross nurses. You had various youth departments. It was a display that the world had never seen before from black people in America. Okay? This is August 1st, 1920, exactly 100 years ago. Okay? This really propelled the Universal Negro Improvement Association to become the largest organization of black people in the history of the world. We have never had, before or since, an organization where black people all over the planet was united. There were more than 1,000 chapters, and there were at least 4 to 6 million members of this organization. Okay? So, to begin with, we are gathered here today on a day that has carried the energy of this movement. Okay? This day has the energy from that movement. And we're gathered here because this is the headquarters of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, Chapter 401.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So this organization in this building is directly connected to that history. Okay? So, is the president or is the...
Bring it right now.
I'd like to introduce the president of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, Chapter 401, give him an opportunity to welcome everyone and say a few words, because to begin with, it is a day for the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Now, I put together this great presentation that hopefully, if we get the technology, Right, I'm going to be able to actually.
If we can introduce our president, he's coming right at you.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yes,
come
that's my
up.
blood cousin. Come on up.
Listen.
You see my sons here. They plugging in.
I see all these African people here.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all.
I just explained to everybody how this is the 100th anniversary of the 1920 UNIA convention.
Right.
Exactly 100 years ago today, and how this chapter and this building and the organization is directly connected to that.
That's right.
So I'd like to give you a few minutes to welcome everybody and just, say something about the UNIA.
All right. I guess I need to do this. All right. Black power, y'all.
Black
Power.
power.
Race first.
Race first.
Black power.
Black power.
Race first.
Race first.
Black power.
Black power.
Race first.
Race first.
All right. I'm President Marua Farrell of Division 401, Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. I've also been appointed as Commissioner of District 6 and 7. That's something a little bit different.
All right.
But how many of y'all know who Marcus Garvey is?
Man.
Let me tell y'all something. Marcus Garvey and the UNIA is the best kept secret of our enemies. He is the best kept secret of people who hate black people. He's the best kept secret of white supremacists, however you want to call them, of devils, of the most evil people who have crucified and exploited our ancestors for over 500 years.
Yes,
Marcus Garvey.
Yes, sir.
Marcus Garvey in the UNIA, we call him the father of black nationalism.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's the difference between black nationalism and white nationalism. Because black people, throughout history, have never been about hurting other people.
Yes, sir.
We've never been about suppressing nobody. We've never been about standing nobody's neck, taking nobody's stuff. And the only people throughout history that black people have hurt is our own.
Yes, sir. Come on, President.
In 1920, the Universal Negro Improvement Association had their first convention in Harlem, New York. And it was thousands of people that came from all over the world. It's something about us that we like to find and focus on the things that we got different instead of the only thing we got in common. It's something about us that we want to be Moors, we want to be Muslim, we want to be Christians, we want to be Jehovah's Witnesses, we want to be Black Stones, we want to be disciples, we want to be Jamaicans, we want to be Nigerians, we want to be everything else. And we focus on that difference instead of focus on what we have in common.
Yes, sir.
It's only one thing, y'all, that you will never be able to change.
Come on. Born with it.
It's only one thing that before you were born, we knew you were going to be. Before we knew you was going to be a male or a female, before we knew you was going to be tall or short,
Come on.
we knew you was going to be black.
Yes, sir.
You can never change the fact that we black, y'all. And I know everybody say that there's only one race, the human race, but that's the biggest crock of stuff I never heard in my life. When the whole world starts just seeing one race, then maybe we'll just start seeing one race.
Yes, sir.
But until then, right? Let's take care of our own. Marcus Garvey, that's what he said. He said, Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Y'all see how the Chinese tripping because the white man called it a China flu? Chinese all over the world. They ain't got to just be Chinese, they Asians. The Koreans get mad. The Singaporeans get mad. They all get mad. But we the only ones that wherever we look at in this whole world, right, we on the bottom, including Africa. We on the bottom. So in 1920, for 30 days. The Universal Negro Improvement Association met in Harlem, New York, and they did something that had never been seen in modern history. They united all black people.
Yes, sir.
Out of that came this red, black, and green flag.
Yes, sir.
We see the flag flying now. Everybody flying the flag. But this flag came August 13, 1920. It came out that convention where they came up and they said that we needed a flag. We needed something to represent us as a people, no matter where we are. This flag right here, if y'all see this flag being held by somebody who is not of African descent, you have a right to take that flag, because that is not their flag. Respect your flag. That's our flag. Not only that, right? Not only that, we got, I know everybody think that Lift Every Voice and Sing is the black anthem, but it's not. If y'all listen to those words, it's no anthem in history as weak as the Lift Every Voice and Sing. They don't talk about winning victories. They talking about just taking pain. That's not what an anthem do. We got an anthem. The 31st of August is the all African. We talk about Martin Luther King Day was the first African holiday, black holiday. No, the 31st of August is all African liberation holiday. It came out in 1920. On the 31st of August, black people all out the world, we need to be taking that as our holiday. That's our holiday. That's ours. But it was only about unification of black people. Unification is the only solution of black people. I know I'm jumping around because today, right, we got our election, our division elections today, but I'm jumping around. But one thing that I need to say before I leave from here, the UNIA, if you were born African or got African descent in blood in you, you are a member.
That's right.
This is not something you joined, you were born into.
Yep.
There's only two types of members though. We got inactive members, and we got active members. Active members are those who pay their dues and do the work for African people. So, welcome to the Garvey Center. As y'all see, we kind of busy. We do a lot of stuff here. We feed our people. We do whatever it takes to help our people. We don't get no grants. We ain't looking for no money from the white man or nothing like that. We believe that if black people need to do it, black people can do it. It's nothing we can't do. So I love all of you all. Welcome home. This is the Garvey Center. We call this Granddaddy's house because out of Marcus Garvey came all the other great leaders that we had, from the Noble Jew Ali's to the Elijah Muhammad, to the Huey Newes, to the Fred Hamptons, to the African leaders who brought independence in Africa. They all came from Marcus Garvey. So this is Granddaddy's house. And in Granddaddy's house, everybody's welcome if you a grandchild. All right, Black Power.
Black Power.
Race first.
Race first.
Before we go, because when we joined 2 years ago, we told we were going to bring the most members up in here ever. You at home, please think about becoming a member. Don't think about it, be one. Thank you, Fred. Peace and love.
Okay, so that's the foundation coming from 100 years ago. We have some important updates now. We know we have new information, and we can take that information and apply it in new ways. Now, we got the technology, most of it's working. So what I'm gonna ask everybody to do is if y'all could just shift your chairs a little bit and turn so that you can see the screen. That's somebody spirit trying to come in through the back door. It's all good. All right. And I'm going to go through this presentation now. Since we're behind, there's some parts I'm going to skip over, but the entire presentation is going to be available to you online. That piece of paper that I handed out to everyone, if you don't have one, we'll get one. There's a website. It says www.balanta.org, right? The full presentation with all the information is going to be available there. Okay? Now, before I get into the presentation, right, I'm going to ask everybody to join me in saying the Ancestors' Pledge of Allegiance. Okay? Everybody in this room come from your mother and father, who came from their mother and father, who came from their mother and father, who came from their mother and father. Right? And when they leave the body, those ancestor spirits go to the ancestor realm. Right? This is a pledge of allegiance basically saying, in the same way that you honor your mother and father, you honor all your mothers and fathers. So if everybody could join me in saying this, if you feel comfortable with this. Here we go. I pledge allegiance to my ancestors. Some were captured and brought to the United States of America. Within this republic, which cannot forever stand, my nation, under my eye, heals its divisions with knowledge of self, truth, and justice for all. Okay, very good. And if we could cut the light so people can see, right? Today we're going to talk about, one of the basic concepts from Marcus Garvey was back to Africa. That we needed to remember and move forward to Africa. Today we're going to talk about a people that was descended from a very little small part of West Africa, right here, called Guinea-Bissau. Now, from 1668 to 1829, 145,000 people were shipped from the slave trading ports in St. Louis, Senegal. From 1668 to 1843, 126,000 people were shipped from the slave trading port of Bissau on the coast of modern-day Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. These are the lands where Balanta people were living. From these two slave trading ports, 6,400 people were brought to the Gulf Coast, 10,000 people were brought to the port of Charleston, 4,500 people were brought to Chesapeake, and 1,400 people were brought to New York. In addition, 85,800 people were brought to the islands of the West Indies. From 1761 to 1850, records show that 6,534 Bingham Brasa, or Balanta people, were trafficked from Naka, their homeland, and enslaved in the Americas. That's an average of at least 121 Balanta per year. If you are a Balanta descendant living in America today, the most likely scenario is that your Balanta ancestor was one of those people. Now, on August 1st, 1974, Richard Curtis II was born. That was today. Okay? I believe that's 46 years ago today. Richard Curtis was born. We are honored to have his mother, who gave birth, Janice Curtis, and some family members that are here with us today, and I'm going to give them an opportunity here in a minute, right? But Richard was born, and he discovered his Balanta ancestry through a DNA test, and in July of 2014, traveled to Guinea-Bissau to reconnect with the Balanta community. There he received the name Ndadesa Chokma. In March of 2015, he uploaded the first of the Balanta homecoming videos onto YouTube and served as a consultant to the Balanta community in the United States. Now remember, Marcus Garvey said, back to Africa, look to Africa. So here is a young man from the Chicago area that lived the dream of Marcus Garvey. He didn't just go anywhere in Africa. He used the modern day tools and science of genetic testing to find out where exactly in Africa is he descended from, where his people are. And he went to that, and he became, as far as we know, the first descendant of Balanta people to discover his Balanta ancestry and to return home knowingly. This is significant. So not only is it the 100-year anniversary of the Marcus Garvey UNIA convention, this is also the 46th anniversary of our brother Bangladesh Chopra. Now, I was going to show this video. We're not connected to the internet, but there's a video online where you can see his actual adventures in Guinea-Bissau. This video on here is from his naming ceremony, right? Where they gave him the name Bangladesh Chopra. Chopra is actually a village, a rural village in Guinea-Bissau, where Bangladesh traveled to, and they named him after his village. Now, I never met Engadesa, but I can feel and I know his spirit. And I have had a conversation with Janice Curtis, Miss Curtis, his mother, and she explained to me the vision and the passion that Engadesa had for teaching and reconnecting to Africa, and specifically about Balanta people. So I know that right now in the ancestral realm, Engadesa is looking down and he's smiling to see that his vision is being fulfilled. Now, let me go to this part. Again, Engadesa was the first known person of Balanta ancestry to return to the Balanta homeland in Guinea-Bissau. He went with a humble spirit to reconnect with his ancestors and to reclaim his Balanta heritage. Now, before leaving Guinea-Bissau, before he returned to Chicago, Engadesa prophesied to the Balanta people in Guinea-Bissau, and he said, "I have some health issues, and I might not return. Understand, I am just the first. More Balanta people are coming after me." So the people in Guinea-Bissau saw this brother come from America with dreadlocks, which was a little different. It was a very powerful thing. And he said this very peculiar thing to them. Well, it turns out, that on August 19, 2018, Engadesa Chopra joined his ancestors. So he said, "I might not make it back," and he didn't make it back. But all the people that knew him had nothing but beautiful things to say and thanked him for all the love and the teaching and the warmth and the openness that he had and showed everyone. Now, even though he had joined the ancestors, right, the other part of his prophecy came true when he said more people would come, including, right, on August 1st, 1995, so 25 years ago, another son was born, right? Jordan Malik Williams was born, and in March of 2019, he had fulfilled Engadesa's prophecy and returned to his Balanta ancestral homeland, and he was given the name Sansal Chumna. And there's a video on YouTube that explains and shows his naming ceremony as well. So here we are again on August the 1st, the 100-year anniversary of the birth of this UNIA convention, the United Black People all around the world. It's the birth of Richard Curtis and Engadesa Chopra, and it's also the birth of Jordan Malik Williams, renamed Sansal Chimno, who followed after Engadesa to Guinea-Bissau to meet his ancestors. In addition, right, We also have another Balanta descendant, followed in the footsteps of Engadesa. Got the date wrong, right? She went 2018, so she was actually the first to fulfill Engadesa's prophecy. Here's a picture of Beverly Veronica in Senegal, and Beverly is with us today in this room. So this is a unique moment for all of us. And then in January of 2020, I also fulfilled Engadesa's prophecy and returned to my Balanta ancestral homeland, and I was given the name Rasamada. Now, can we turn the lights on for a minute here? Is somebody in the back? There's a light switch right there. So this is some background. This is why this is a very special moment, right, for us. There are maybe 200, 300 known Balanta people that are part of our organization, right? We have a membership. We realize that when people find out, when they take the ancestry test and they find out where they come from, the next thing they want to do is they want to learn about the people, the places they come from, and they also want to connect with other people that have got the same results from the same ancestry. And so in November of 2019, so not even a year ago, we founded the Balanta Brasa History and Genealogy Society to provide an organization and an educational service and a development service to learn about and preserve the history of the Balanta people. And we realized that this became a reality because of our first brother that went before us, Brother Engadesa Choke. He came back and he started to educate Balanta people, and he built friendships and networks. And he introduced people from Guinea-Bissau to us. And we used those relationships to travel to Guinea-Bissau, which is not easy to do, because Guinea-Bissau and the United States don't even have diplomatic relations. They don't even have an embassy, a consulate there. Most black people in America don't know anything about Guinea-Bissau. We know about Ghana, we know about South Africa, we know about Egypt and Ethiopia. Don't nobody know about Guinea-Bissau. So going to Guinea-Bissau, not easy. Meanwhile, the United States State Department tries to discourage us, saying it's not safe and all these things. Saying it is has an unstable government and a lot of drug trafficking. Y'all shouldn't go there. So for Engadesa, all on his own initiative, without really having any forerunners, to be the first, to be brave enough to go to Guinea-Bissau and meet with the people and establish these relationships, all of which we have used. Beverly, Sanso, myself, Uncle Nana that has gone after me, Brother Ahmed that has gone after me. There's a whole bunch of us that have all been able to go to Guinea-Bissau because of the networks and relationships. So I know that the work that we are doing is the fulfillment of Brother Engadesa's vision, what he wanted to do, which was the same thing Garvey was talking about. Make a closer relationship back to Africa. Now, our heroes are not always the big, massive people you see on TV, the celebrities. We have heroes, people that do work. They don't necessarily get the fame and the fortune and the glory and all of that. But they have a vision, and they work on it, and they keep working on it, and they inspire other people. So one of the reasons why we're here today is not only to honor Marcus Garvey and his vision and what he did to get us in the direction, but also to honor one of our heroes, Engadesa Chokman, so that his legacy is now institutionalized, and so that at least once every year there will be Balanta sons and daughters that will remember the work that Engadesa Chokman did. So this is very special to me. It's a very serious moment for me, and I would just like to give Miss Janice Curtis an opportunity to speak to us about her son. And Janice, I'm sorry, I'm calling you Janice. I need to give you an honor title. I consider Miss Curtis to be a holy mother of our organization, okay? And let me move this out of the way. I would like for you to just speak about your son's legacy, who he was, who he is, what he did, and this is your moment. And let's turn this chair around. You can face it, okay?
Yeah, I can't do nothing but tell the truth. I didn't write anything, I didn't say.
That's okay. We just want to
Speaking from the heart.
speak from your heart.
Well, my son was an amazing young man. We butt heads all the time. He always was teaching people about Africa and our culture, and letting people know that African Americans know we have a culture. And after doing our DNA, finding that we were 100% from the Balanta tribe from in the South, he was so inspired to get out and educate everybody about their history, African history. Be proud of where we come from. After going to his privileges to getting the South, coming back home, he went everywhere preaching, and he started trying to form, the society, telling other people about it. And he wanted to help the people of Guinea South, trying to set up tourism as West African people going back, and businesses, trying to start businesses up in Guinea South and other parts of Africa. When he went to Africa, he didn't stay in a hotel or whatever. He stayed with the people. Stayed in the compound, slept on the floor. He traveled through the country, walking, taking crowds. But he wanted to live that life of being back home and experiencing it. And after coming back, he worked diligently in trying to help the people in Africa and promoting how beautiful Africa was. He wanted everyone to not forget about our mother, because we all come here. I bought let's see. I was in the paper store. Here you go. This is a blanket that we had on display at his homegoing celebration. And this is the life of him. Our family has, we're from a large family. His father was from a family of 12. They were Farmington, Michigan. And this is one of the sisters of my husband. And this is my daughter, Richie's sister. I only had 2 kids, him and Christy. And he was the oldest. It's my brother, nephew, and his family. So there's 10 of us here celebrating his life and his legacy. And when y'all have anything you want to say?
I'll speak. Inga, that's like she said, was his own person. He walked to the beat of his own drum. He was a drummer. He took to everything. He took to jazz. He took to Rastafarianism. He took to Islam. That's what invited me to Islam. I was able to see Islam through him. Even when he walked to figure out other cultures and find out about himself. As she said, he took his pilgrimage to the motherland and he embraced it. When he was there, I told him, I said, hey, just as we think in modern culture, protect your feet. He's a diabetic, right? said, get some nice hiking boots, you know, I think like that. He said, no, I'm gonna wear sandals, you know, be as the people are. He fell ill while he was there and was hospitalized, even amongst his journey. He told us how the hospitals work there. So if you get sick and you fall sick, for other people who might have a pilgrimage, who might have health concerns when you go, what happens if I have to go to the hospital there? Well, thankfully he had friends that he met along the way. So gather your network while you're in this earth anyway, but build your network up. Talk to people. Don't be afraid of who you might come across that you might not understand. Understand that your will and your purpose will always shine through. So he fell ill there, and he was able to get the medicine he needed and the things he needed because one of his friends had to go get it. When you go to a hospital there, they don't have the things to provide for you. You have to pay for that, and someone goes and get it and bring it back to get you the help. So he was dehydrated, he got back to health, and he continued his journey. He didn't return home. He continued. He walked so much in his sandals, his feet blistered and was to shreds. At that point, he still continued. If you see him in the videos, he has his shoes off going through the forest. You can look on YouTube. His videos are still up there. And even through that, he was fearless. I couldn't imagine, you know, as a diabetic, you know, your feet health and things like that is something that's important. And I still encouraged him along the way, you know, make sure you watch out for your health. But he was so passionate about the mission that he continued on. And he came back home, he shared the information, and he didn't fret away from it. Even being stricken ill, diabetes is a terrible thing, and it affects us in so many different ways, our people. So health is another important thing that we learn from him. Health, protecting your culture, being fearless, being a person that walks to beat your own drum. He played the drums. He has an amulet that he had, and over the years he wore this, and I wonder, you know, at times, what is that? Every ancestor that's passed on, to remember them, he would visit their grave sites, pray, and take a small piece of dirt at their grave sites and place it inside. The image on the outside is not an image, it's just a mirror to reflect back to you that you are your ancestor.
Yes.
He wore this everywhere, even through airports. You know, if you can imagine, just going through customs or going through TSA, and they want to know what that is. And he didn't take it off. This is something that he had, and you know, he reminded himself always to remember the ancestors. Even when him and my aunt or his father, my mom's brother, bumped heads about him embracing culture, we don't understand, because like we were given the informational earlier, that a lot of things are kept secrets from our people, so we don't know who we are, and we can't embrace it unless we know who we are and why we have a purpose. And he fulfilled his purpose, and I stay out of town now. I don't think it's a coincidence, but I just drove in yesterday with my family.
Whoa.
And just so happened, my aunt told me before I was driving in that this would take place. So it's an honor to be here and to feel the presence of everybody and the ancestors and all the beautiful people that made it out, because we have to embrace our culture, our family, and stay strong to who we are. And I appreciate you, Brasa Mata, is it
Yes,
Mata?
yes.
For putting this together. You stand away from here as well and bringing the people together, because this small thing, as they say, it takes one match to start a forest fire. This can continue and continue and continue. Even after you've passed and I've passed on, our children can leave a legacy as well. So thank you. We appreciate you for having us. And it's been an honor just to be here amongst the people. And it's a good presence just to see the food drives and everything, and just to have the children, the youth, see the culture, because that was one thing that Ingadessa really, really hold to. He didn't have traditional education and teaching children, but he taught kindergarten children upward for a long time. Inside a school system, he worked for the Texas Empowerment Academy in Austin, Texas, and he taught children, and he continued. I often told him, because I did worry about our bloodline. You always protect your bloodline by growing your bloodline through family. I always asked him, hey, you know, what about your bloodline? How are you going to keep producing? He said, I'm amongst the children, and they all are my children. So don't just think about yourself in a sense that it's about me and I, because we are one. When we all put everything aside, we're all one. And that's basically a synopsis of his life, his legacy, what we continue to look forward to do, the people that are here, and the purpose for why you're here, and the energy and the spirit that provide. And I'm pretty sure, you know, if you haven't talked to him directly, you might have talked to someone who talked to him once you go along your journey, because his network was broad, and I didn't know it. I ran across someone in Virginia that knew my cousin that just came to Virginia one time, and I met him through another person. Your cousin taught my children, you know. So the world is small, although it seems big. It's small, and continue to grow our network and just be appreciative of everything that we have, and we continue forward with this mission. And I appreciate being here, and thank you all again. Peace.
All right. Now, if you are a descendant of Bingham Rasa, Balanta people, right, hold on, if you are a descendant of Bingham Rasa, Balanta people, raise your hand. Okay? Look, we got a lot of Balanta children in here, okay? Which is fantastic. All right. And it's true what you said, which is there are so many of Engadesa's children that you don't even know yet, haven't even met. People that are benefiting. And that's why we wanted to honor him, because you don't always know how far your works or your legacy travels, or how many people you have touched. And it's not just in this day and age, in generations after. As long as this organization, the Balanta Brasa History and Genealogy Society in America, as long as it exists, right, your son is going to be remembered. Energy is going to be directed to him in the ancestral realm to sustain him there, to say that your life and your works was not in vain, and that it is growing. Okay? Now, we're going to eat here in a minute, okay? And then I'm going to do the second part of the thing. But there's another thing we need to do, which is this, okay? Not only is it Engadesa's Earth Day, right? It's also our brother Sanso Earth Day, who was born on the same day. Come on up here. And where did Chocolate, is he still here?
Yes.
Okay, go grab Chocolate. I'm going to need him for this patch. Excuse us. So, again, this day pregnant with a lot of energy and a lot of symbolism and stuff. So, 25 years ago, this young man was born, and you spoke with Engadesa, yes? No. Okay.
Actually, know some of the people that live there.
But you were inspired by his work and his videos, and then you went and you met some of the same people and made your tribe. Now, Sanso happened to be of the same spirit, where nobody told him, this is the work you gotta do. It had come from inside. And like Engadesa, when Sanso returned from Guinea-Bissau, he started making videos. He started teaching us the language, okay? He started teaching us the culture. And so even though he's a young man, he's a big man. And in Balanta, we call big men Balanta and Da, right? He has taken responsibility to say, we've got more work to do, we've got more culture to teach. He happens to be my best student. And so he came out here today, and I wanted to celebrate his birthday as well. And I wanted to do something meaningful on a very deep spiritual level. So I got in contact with someone who was my teacher for a brief time, who happened to have been the student of a man named General James, who was the best student taught directly from Marcus Mosiah Garvey himself.
Right.
So Marcus Garvey taught General James, and Marcus Garvey had created this school of African philosophy. And General James was in the first class and was the best student and was given responsibility to keep the school of African philosophy going. And then General James had many students, one of which was someone who influenced me when I was his age, right? Baba Shaka Barak, who's here today. This is Baba Shaka. So, to me, it's important that this direct lineage connection, this educational connection, bridging the gap between Marcus Garvey and now this new movement that we're doing, where we're actually not just all of Africa, but where we come from in Africa. So one of the things I like to do, right, is I have a gift. In Balanta culture, it's interesting that you brought the talisman and you spoke on that, because in Balanta culture, Balanta spirituality, amulets and talismans are a very important part of the culture. Balanta people understand that there's a life force energy that permeates the universe in all things, living and organic or non-organic. Everything has this life force energy that has the ability to influence every object around. It can either strengthen your life force energy or it can weaken it. In Balanta culture, those things that we hold precious, that are our possessions, receive the very life force energy, right? It absorbs it. And these are the things that we make the amulets and talismans of. In Balanta culture, there's even if someone have a shirt that is very special to them and they wear it all the time, that will be passed down to the next generation and they hang it in the house. So we believe that objects can carry energies that is important to us. So what I'd like to do right now is endow our young brother, right, by having Shaka present this gift, right, to the young brother, Brother Sanso Chimna, right, for his birthday. It's important that Shaka, being a direct line to Marcus Garvey, and this gift has symbolic meaning, and that he's holding that energy, all of that is being created now, and we want to transfer it to our brother. After you present the gift, I'd like you to take a few minutes and say what you feel needs to be said on this occasion. All right? Baba Shaka Barak.
One of the things that we love about our young brothers and sisters is that when we're no longer here and we have to leave and go and sleep with our ancestors, we know that there are some who will be like remnants who will continue the work that we have continued from the generation before us. So I want to give to you, young brother, say your name again? Sanso Chimna? Sensei as well, right?
Yes.
He's a teacher, huh?
He's a martial art, he's a Muntu arts.
I want to give you this offering in the hope that it's a book
A very special one.
and that you will read it.
Yeah, look at it.
Yes, sir. And from our African brother Stevie Wonder, can we get one go around the happy birthday to you? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. All right.
Yes.
The title of the book.
It's Marcus Garvey, Message to the People,
Yes, sir.
Course of African Philosophy.
There are 21 lessons that I learned at the time that Baba Shaka was working with me as a young person. Not only did I read the book, but I internalized the lessons.
Yes.
And have applied them throughout my lifetime. Part of my presentation here today can be considered my graduate thesis, to be graded by Baba Shaka to grant me a diploma in School of Philosophy. Don't sit down yet. Baba Shaka, can you take a few minutes to just talk about anything related to Marcus Garvey and applying what he taught, and just something especially for our young people that are here right now?
Certainly, I'd love to.
We do have that book for sale here too.
Fantastic.
Young Marcus Garvey was a multiple genius, a master of the spoken and the written word. And he traveled throughout the world asking a question: where is the black man? Where is his king and his kingdom? Where is his army? Where is his navy? And he declared, I could not find them. And therefore I will help to make them. When you see our leader, he is the founder and first president general of the UNIA. The UNIA is so big, you can't get under it.
Come on.
It's so high, you can't get over it. It's so wide, you can't get around it. Why do I say that?
Come on.
Because of what we stand for.
That's right.
We are social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society. Take that apart. Take each one of those to understand the preamble to our Constitution. We sought to establish a universal confraternity among the race. That means all black people around the world. The UNIA seeks to unite all black people in the world. Why? Because we can't do it alone in Chicago. I don't care how successful you are in Chicago. If you don't get Alabama, if you don't get Africa, if you don't get Guinea-Bissau, if you don't get South Africa, if you don't get Australia, if you leave a place in the world where white supremacy dominates our people, it will come back to haunt you. It will bite you in the unity.
That's right. That's
Auntie.
right.
Establish universities, colleges, and academies for the racial education and culture of our people.
Yes, sir.
When the people don't have their history, they don't know who they are. We at one time dominated the other nations and races of the earth.
Yes, sir.
But if you don't know that, then we have this sense of hopelessness. So the Honorable Marcus Garvey said that there are things in Africa that we need in New York
Yes, sir.
to put in our factories. There's things in South and Central America. I mean, you got timber, I mean, you got gold. We need it so we can create jobs for ourselves. But how do you move timber from Africa to New York? You have to have what? Ships! The Black Star Line Steamship Corporation. And there were brothers and sisters in South and Central America willing to load those ships for free. Just bringing ships down there. But the Honorable Marcus Garvey knew, especially around 1937, 1938, that he may not be with us. He knew that he had to put some young people in a training that would prepare them for leadership in the UNIA.
Yes.
He needed to have those who were prepared. Again, we're talking about a triple genius who everything that he did, that he learned, he put in the book and suggested that we learn it. So he grabbed these students, these commissioners, he sat them down for 30 days. And he poured his soul out to them, hoping that they would embrace African philosophy and continue to carry on the work that had to be done. But 2 years later, 1940, he died. 2 years later, a world white war jumped off. Black people started scrambling. So rather than being able to do what we did in ancient Kemet, to sit down for 20 years and study, we had to take care of our families. We had our bills. We had distractions. And then we had some squabbling inside the UNIA. Brothers and sisters, the work of developing those who are going to continue to resurrect and rebuild the UNIA is still upon us.
That's right.
So as our president said of Division 401, we have the books. You haven't been taught anything yet until you understand African philosophy. It's yours. It's not Platoism. That Greek had a philosophy for the Greeks.
That's right.
It's not Socrates, another Greek. That philosophy of Aristotle, these were philosophies for other races. Your philosophy
That's right.
is African philosophy,
Yes.
uniquely yours. Now, if you accept that book, that gift, if you accept the responsibility of building the UNIA so that it can live out its mission, that book will help you. It will teach you all the things that you need to know. And so rather than thinking that we are down and out because we see some violence in our community, we see some unemployment in our community, listen, we haven't began to fight yet.
That's right. Say that.
So it's time. Get your membership up
Yes, sir.
in the UNIA. Learn what the alma marcus gave us. The first and largest mass movement. The first. There was nobody else that had a mass movement. They didn't figure out how to bring the right kind of honesty, fearlessness inside of the communities of our people. We were there every morning. The legions were there every morning, slipping up free newspapers up under the door, standing on the corners in the community. How you doing, sister so-and-so? How you doing, brother so-and-so? Keeping up the morale in the community so that the people felt comfortable when they came out their doors. What's happening now? Ghost town. At night, our communities are ghost towns. You know what I mean? Nobody's there. Nobody's out in the community making the community safe. You get this knowledge. You come to these meetings, 401, you talk with the president, y'all develop your strategies, you bring your youth, because we have something for them as well.
That's right.
They don't know how to get out the dope game. I don't think that they're going to find a way and figure that out. They're going to need your help.
Yes, sir.
Finally, the world is afraid of us. They do not want to turn over completely the continent of Africa. The resources on the continent of Africa have fed the white world,
Yes, sir.
have led to their industrialization. They want you to keep your mind off Africa because they want to continue to rule the world. They got this systematic, they got it so systematic. White supremacy is so well organized in the United States of America, you ain't gonna never overcome it. That's why the alma marcus Garvey said we must have Africa. And every square inch of the land on the continent of Africa. Now if I see somebody going after this, I'm looking, I'm watching. We gotta have all the airspace above the continent of Africa. We gotta have all the resources that are down in the waters that surround Africa, and the rivers and the lakes. So we're not just talking about going to Africa for a party or a celebration. We're talking about reclaiming the resources that we need to take back our position that we once held.
Yes, sir.
The first and original people on this planet. Let's get it back. We can get it through Garveyism. Thank you very much.
All right.
Garvey was an educator, and Sansel was an educator, right? And he has taken up the mission of teaching us the language that was taken from the ancestor that survived the Middle Passage. That ancestor that survived the Middle Passage came from somewhere. He came from a family. That family lived in a community. That community had a territory, and in that territory they spoke a language and they spoke a culture. This is what was robbed and taken from us through the process of brutalization, terrorism, and trauma. This knowledge of the language that your ancestors spoke and the culture that they practiced. That is what they took from us, and so this is what we are reclaiming. Marcus pointed us in the direction of Africa, and this generation now has tools to identify who was the ancestor that survived the Middle Passage, where did they come from, what language they spoke, and what was their culture. So, Brother Sansel, I'd like for you to lead us in an example by saying something in the language that all the Balanta people in this room, right, that was taken from your ancestors 200 to 250 years ago. I want you to set an example to say that the language can be reclaimed and we can speak it. So on this Earth Day, what is it, 25 years ago, silver? 25 years? Yes. Your Silver Earth Day celebration. Speak in Krasa. Say something.
Nsumba mean. Nsumba. Kumama. Nkasanso china. Bendimba mean. Bendimba mean. Besanti Krasa. Flemin. Asin. Nangna Nbendemba Nangna Abendemba Nangna Bendemba mean Asin Binyam Brasa na America Kabinyam Brasa Asia Kabinyam Brasa Europa Kabinyam Brasa One mean or you know Kumama Dessa Bidessa Go Anubo Five Santi Five Mean Right Abene Waita
Our hope is that his generation and every generation after, no matter where your ancestors come from, that you will also be able to speak your ancestral language. That is the future. So when we go to Africa, we are no longer perpetuating the white supremacy colonization by speaking their language. We will come and show that our indigenous languages are valuable, so valuable that we took the time to learn them so that they aren't erased from the planet. Because if we don't, hundreds of years, or maybe even 50 years from now, these African languages that carry so much word, sound, power, vibration, that unlock the genetic codes in our bodies that have been stored for tens of thousands of years. It's the word, sound, vibration, right? If we lose that, that will be a great loss. Right now, the lineage restoration movement is reclaiming that by learning the language. So I just want him to set an example. Yes, you have a...
I have a question for him.
Yes.
I'm an entertainer. They come give me a beat. Something happened to me on stage one night. I can't explain it, and then somebody told me it might have been something. My grandmother was a slave. I wanted to know if I could sing a couple of the words to you in case you know where it came from because I want to learn the language. Saliendo the moon that Sunday on the moon that Salega. Saliendo gambo tumbala so unalalia. I have no idea what I'm saying. And it just started coming out when I started singing.
Soon. You said soon.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm not gonna lie, that's the only thing I picked up from that. But soon, in our language, it has two meanings. When I say sum, nsumba, nsumna, that means delicious. Sum is the word for mouth, but we also use it as an expression of it's nice to meet you, it's pleasant, it's delicious to be here. You know,
I'm gonna give
we
you my
use the
card so we can
senses.
get together. So
Yeah, definitely. I love language. I love African languages. So I'm glad you shared that with
But
me.
I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
where it came from. I just opened and started. I was intending to sing a song I wrote, and that's what came out.
From inside your ancestors speaking. Now remember, there's no one African language, right? We come from hundreds and even thousands of different people in different languages. So part of the process is again restoring your family lineage so you can know what language you need to learn so that you can reclaim what was taken. Okay, that's important. One final thing we're going to do and then we're going to eat, right? Giving our brother the book is important. But the greatest gift that we could give him right now is an endowment. An endowment is not a physical thing. It's an energetic thing. It's a spiritual thing. Right now, each one of us has a life force energy that is in you and in your soul. And what I'd like to do right now is if everyone could close their eyes and go deep within themselves and envision the qualities and the characteristics that the next generation is going to lead to be effective and successful for guiding our people, protecting our people, liberating our people, educating our people, all of the things that are going to be required: integrity, fortitude, honor, clarity of vision, heart, love, courage, humility. Everything. I'd like you to just take a moment of silence and go deep in your soul. Resurrect all of the things that the next generation are going to need and wish it and bestow it on this brother right here.
Yes, sir.
Baby. One more thing. Where's my son? Tanisi? Come here, Tanisi. Come here. This is my son Tanisi. He's 8 years old. Tanisi is the most ancient, his name is the most ancient name of where our ancient ancestors came from. Before the Balanta people lived in Guinea-Bissau, they lived in the Nile Valley. Okay? And they called that area Tanisi. And I wanted to give my son a name that was powerful. That he could, why my father give me this strange name, can't nobody pronounce it, don't nobody have his name. One day he's gonna look into it and he's gonna realize this was a very powerful, most ancient name for where the Balanta ancestors come. Now, put your hand on his shoulder, right? Tanisi, I want you to tell the people, right, what is the thing you learned about Marcus Garvey this month that had the greatest effect on you?
That his dad left him, like he was in a graveyard, was digging up grave. His dad told him there was a wolf or something, and he left him there and said that you can never trust him for yourself.
Good. We was watching a documentary, and it explained how Marcus Garvey's father and Marcus Garvey, as a young boy his age, were digging a grave. And then Marcus Garvey's father put Marcus Garvey in the grave and left him there for hours, may have even been overnight, and came back and said, son, what'd you learn? And Marcus Garvey said he learned, right, I can't trust anybody. I can't even trust you. I have to depend on myself. So we watched this documentary, right?
Just one
Yes.
quick thing. You have to be careful with the documentary.
Yes, sir.
We've been debating and discussing this, not debating because we've been talking to his children.
Okay.
Julius Jr. And that's not true.
It's not true.
So what we need to do is to find those things with the book. Find those things that are true without a question or doubt, because those are the words written by the Honorable Marcus Garvey himself.
Okay. And that underscores the point of why we have to produce our own educational materials. Because it made an impression on my son, right? When we watched the whole documentary, I said, what'd you learn? What's the monkey? And then he said that story. So now I'm gonna have to talk to him and say, okay, the lesson is good, but it didn't actually happen that way. But the point, and I don't necessarily agree with that, because I want my son to be able to trust me, even though I'm not perfect, and sometimes I make mistakes and I may fail him, but I want him to trust me, which he did this week by jumping in off the point in Lake Michigan and earning his swim skill and swim courage badge. Right. Those of you that know Lake Michigan and the point, that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
So, okay, you can go sit down. Thank you. Right. This is great. I hope this birthday is the best. All right, we have yes.
So in this day and age, when we talk about changing the narrative, why do you think so many of our people are scared to do homeschooling and incorporating teaching our history? I see a lot of that not being done when we have the opportunity to now teach our own children without interference, because no one's looking to interfere. They're looking, we're trying to keep them safe. Why do you think that so many people oppose it and they want the system to teach the children as opposed to us doing that?
You go sit down. I'm going to answer this shortly, and then we're going to eat. Y'all can sit down real quick.
I've been here, y'all, for wishing me happy birthday and all that.
So that's a great question, right? I'm a natural born educator, and I've created an institution. Now, we got to understand that there has been an independent black school movement for a long time. In fact, you have CIB, Council of Independent Black Institutions, where you have these small networks of New African or Pan-African or Black conscious people that are having their schools and doing homeschooling. Now, usually the people that are involved in that are the people with the highest level of Black consciousness at the time. That level of consciousness comes at a cost, at a price. If it were easy and natural and normal and accepted, a lot more people will have it. But what you will find is that in order to live your life and apply those things on that level, there's a sacrifice that has to, because that is the very thing that this society in America is against. So you have to be willing to suffer and sacrifice in doing that. Now, people have done it, and they've done it successfully. In terms of, for example, you change your name, you learn the true history about our people and those kinds of things. For various reasons, right, there's an element of class that's involved in this. We all want for our children better than what we have. And we have been taught that in this society, getting an education is the key to having a better, or I say a more comfortable life. And in a certain way, it's true. When you receive the colonial education in America, it can give you opportunities to have a more comfortable life. You could earn money, you could buy a house, that kind of thing. And so I understand our people who want that kind of material security and either knowingly or unknowingly realize that they have to assimilate to try to get those things. I'm not going to fault our people for wanting to live in a nice, comfortable house and have the things that they see that others in the society have. Okay? But at the same time, as Marcus Mosiah Garvey taught us, those same people that get that kind of education have to then go and get a racial re-education. Because when you come out of, and I'm going to answer your question, but when you come out of the colonial American education, that education is designed to make you function in building the American society that is based on a system of white supremacy. So unless you get that colonial education and then come back to your communities, even though you personally may become more materially comfort, it doesn't serve to build your community. It doesn't lift your nation, because now you are invested in supporting this system that benefits white supremacy at the expense of ourselves. Now, we have a lot of people that aren't willing to take the money and the resources that they get and invest them in the CIBI institutions, the Council of Independent Black Institutions, to take their children out of the public schools or even going on to the colleges and universities to build our own, because there is a perception that you will not be successful. You will not become materially as comfortable. That is not the prescribed path to the American dream, right? So it really takes someone with the passion of like Engadesa, someone with the knowledge and the vision to say, okay, I have to build my own. Something like Marcus Garvey. So some of it has to do with the class structure of society. Some of it, like Carter G. Woodson would say, that's simply the miseducation of the Negro, right? The people who have educated us are telling us the wrong things, like you just said in the documentary, okay? So finally, to get to the point, is this, right? The damage for over 5 generations of people. The first 2 to 3 generations, right, were brainwashed, take their language, their culture. They were traumatized and terrorized and brutalized, and they were intentionally, whatever little bit of education they got or a little bit of spiritual, religious teaching they got, right, was all designed to make us subservient instruments in an economic system and not to live out our self-determined destiny. We only started coming to that. You had a few people like Prince Hall in the 1790s. You had some early people in the early 1830s, 1840s. You had people like Martin Delaney and David Walker. You had people who realized we need to resist this. And freedom isn't cheap, it comes at a price. But it wasn't until after the Civil War, emancipation, where our status changed. We went from chattel slavery to a different kind of slavery. And the system of education that they gave us at that time was to keep us in slavery. And to this day, and when you speak of the black people as a whole, as a nation of people, with the 40 million of us, to this day, we still have yet to come out from under that jurisdiction. Although we have groups like UNIA and all these other groups that are attempting to do that. But when those groups are doing their work without the resources that this system has, the white supremacy system, our people want to be fed, they want to be housed, and they want to be clothed. So if we're just talking education, but we're not actually providing, it's going to be hard to win people over to our way. And it's not our fault that it's so difficult for us. That is the injustice, the fact that it is so difficult because of this system of white supremacy that we are trying to overcome. So we always have to remind that everybody's at a different level of consciousness and development, okay? There was a moment when each person in this room didn't have hardly no black consciousness or self-determination. Then you read, you learned, you had mentors, you had teachers, and it developed. So even the most backward and wayward of us that are completely assimilated into the system, they're still our people. And then we have those that have totally embraced Marcus Garvey teaching, do for self, Africa for the Africans, those at home and abroad, right? So it's a very dynamic issue. And each one of us must do the best that we can to realize we cannot depend on no other group of people outside of our own.
That's right.
For our survival.
That's right.
And as long as we're clear on that, and we keep emphasizing it,
Grace first.
circumstances in the world today are going to make people understand that, whether we say it or not. It will happen naturally or organically. Our best teachers are only trying to expedite and amplify the process.
Yes, sir.
That's what these institutions and schools can do. And as soon as we start producing people that are farmers, that are feeding people. So when they say, oh, you don't have your stimulus check, you don't have your $600, right, and you can't, how are we going to feed ourselves? When a black farmer steps up and says, don't worry about there's no food in the supermarket, right? We got all this food we've been growing for. Y'all didn't even know about it, but we've been preparing for this. We have 40,000 black farmers in the United States. We only own 0.9% of the land in America. At the turn of the century, right around Marcus Garvey time, we had 1 million black farmers. We now only have 40,000. We need to do a survey and an assessment to see what the black farmers that we have now, what is our capacity to feed our people, and what do we need to do that? Because if this whole system shut down and there is no internet, there's no oil imports coming, we can't even run tractors and stuff, we're going to have to go back to the way we farmed beforehand, which we can do, but we have to prepare for it. So what I'm saying is, when we have black farmers, they're saying, come to us, and you can eat, then when the people that don't have food and don't know what to do and don't know how to do it, when they come and they're being provided for, then those people can say, here's the rest of the stuff y'all need to know how to do. And that's when the philosophy, Africa for Africans, and the Garvey philosophy will be made manifest in real circumstances, because the people will be forced to survive and they need food. So that's a great segue to get to the food. We're going to have the second, we're going to eat now, we're going to do the second part after this, right? So we just talked about food, farmers, we got some food here. I want to invite, we're going to hold the questions, we're going to do the second part in a minute. I want to invite everybody to come.
First off, if you enjoyed the first round, give my cousin a round of applause. Thank you for everybody coming to the Garvey Center since I'm holding it down, and my president gives us room to do so. We're going to do this the way we were taught to do it. Mama J, you know we go back a long way, right? Please, dear love, give us a prayer real quick. Then I'm going to toss it up front, and we'll have a moment of silence for our ancestors, and the sister's going to kick the Garvey demonstration for it. Please go ahead, sister.
Most heavenly and gracious Father, you who are called by many names and worshipped in many ways, your humble servants come giving you all praise, honor, and glory. We ask that you bless this food, but in blessing this food, that it gives us the strength to carry your journey, the journey of